Welcome to another episode of the Bloomers Podcast. My name is Amr. The Bloomers Podcast is basically a podcast where we talk about mental health, self-help, things that people don't really talk about in the world. This episode is going to be about Islam. It's going to be about believing, practicing. Basically, that's the main topic. But I've said this a lot on this channel. I don't like talking about religion. I think it's something that I've avoided on here to talk about just one-on-one like this. I've talked about it with guests because it's just like there's someone who can relate to it directly with me. But I never wanted to do it in a setting like this just because I feel like it's not everyone can relate to it. But this is an exception. So, I've been Muslim all my life. I haven't been practicing all my life. But one thing I've always noticed, and I'm making this video for people who are in my position that I was in before. But a lot of people, they have strong belief in God, and they believe in Islam and all the five pillars, but they don't practice. Right? That's a big problem. That's probably the biggest, just constantly the biggest problem that the Muslim community has in general. So I wanted to start with belief. All right, we're going to talk about belief first, then we'll go into practicing. So I wanted to share, this is like the most beautiful thing I've ever, like most beautiful thing a human being has ever written that I've seen. So it's from this book called Mizan by Javed Ghamdi. I believe that's how you say his name. He's like a scholar, spent his whole life. Oh, by the way, I'm not a scholar. All right. I'm literally just a random person. I have no education in Islam. A lot of the stuff that I've been taught, it could be wrong. There have been things that I have discovered in the past, like folding the prayer mat because Satan's going to pray on it. Turning over the sandals when you go to the mosque, and all these like superstitions and things that are false and not true that have been taught. So maybe some of that could be in this video, but I don't think so. So I just wanted to read this beautiful passage that kind of summarizes the belief in God, and I thought you would like to hear it too because it's just so amazing. So he says, man has been equipped with the ability of deriving conclusions from what he hears, sees, and feels. Conclusions which are actually beyond these faculties. A simple example to illustrate this is the law of gravitation. An apple falls on the ground. When a stone is to be lifted from the ground, strength must be exerted. It is difficult to ascend from stairs than to descend from them. The moon and the stars move in the skies. Man has been witnessing all these phenomena for centuries until it was Newton who discovered that they are the result of the law of gravitation. This law itself cannot be observed, however, it is accepted as a scientific reality in the whole world. Kind of similar to how God cannot be observed, but some people accept him as a reality. That's not written here, but anyways. The reason for this is that all theories and known facts are in harmony with it being the law of gravitation. All observable realities are explained by this law, and yet no other law is able to explain various phenomenon as it has done. Now this is crazy, all right? I just need you to follow along because it's just so cool. This process obviously is the derivation of the tangible from the intangible. Like the language this guy's using is next level, all right? Like this took me so many reads to fully understand, and I'm gonna have it on the screen so you can read it as well. But just please listen. When a person makes use of this ability of his and studies the universe which stretches around him, then this study of his also vouches for this very reality found in his inner self. That you need to read that again to understand it. Thus, he sees everything of this world is a miraculous manifestation of creativity. Everything has a deep meaningfulness. It has been created with great diligence and thoroughness. There exists amazing wisdom, planning, usefulness, and order. There are found superb mathematical and geometrical realities whose only justification is the fact that they have a creator, and this creator is not an uncontrolled and unrestrained being. On the contrary, he has an unfathomable mind. This is because if power does not emanate from a wise and all-knowing being, then it should be mere tyranny. The truth of the matter is that this is not so. This expression of power and strength has aptness about it. It is also very harmonious and is very advantageous and produces great marvels which cannot be produced by an uncontrolled and unrestrained force. Insane. Like, that language is just next level. You can tell this guy knows his stuff. But to end it off, this is an undisputable reality. Without accepting it, in no way can the intellectual thirst of a person be quenched. Consequently, the Quran has asserted that the belief in God is the light of the heavens and the earth. It lights up the heart of a person, and in its absence, this world is bleaky and murky, meaningless and purposeless. So, I know that was just like me reading off, like I'm doing a freaking presentation at school and I'm terrible at it, just reading off like my phone. But dude, I really hope you can read that again, and I really hope it impacts you in some way, makes you think, it reinforces your beliefs about God. Because I don't think a non-religious person is watching, but if you are, shout out to you. But man, dude, like the whole idea of the belief, right, is that how can there not be something after this? You know, like there is just no way that because like, think about it, right? Science is amazing. I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher myself. An undergraduate researcher and scientist. So I'm nothing crazy, all right? But it can explain literally everything except what's in the heart and in the soul and in the mind. It just can't. Like, it can't tell us why we're here on Earth. And I know this is a very cliche conversation that is had. You know, it's not a very intellectually deep conversation, but it's stuff that you kind of ignore and you need to think about. And that's the big thing about belief, is belief has to be centered around death. Now, you have to be accepting of the idea that you can die. If you're going to be like a pious person, you need to be accepting of that, and you need to make that like the reason why you're doing everything, which we'll get into practicing in a second. But I was at the mosque a couple weeks ago, and the imam, which imam is like the person who is in front of the crowd who gives a speech to the men and the women at the mosque, and he said something really good. He was like, there has to be something greater to teach you the way, right? So for morality and for the way of living, it has to be like when it's an adult to a child, that's an example of like the dynamic there, right? Like the adult has greater knowledge, has experience, and they know what is going to be good for this child. So the children don't make up the rules in school or in a household. It's someone greater. So that same idea applies to like humanity, where there is no way that like humans decided what, because all of our laws in every single country is to some extent based on like some like Christianity or Islam or some religion, because there was a time where everyone was religious, and now we're in this time where our beliefs are just always under siege. You know, like anti-religious rhetoric, there we go, is at an all-time high. And especially Islamophobia is crazy online. Like you won't mostly, unless you're a woman who wears a hijab, mostly you will not experience Islamophobia or like by someone directly face to face, because no one has the courage to do that. And that's like, I don't know, it's insane. Like the stories I've heard from women who do wear the hijab, like the headscarf, not the concept, but the headscarf, is like it's crazy stuff, spitting and throwing stuff and driving by, yelling at them, like that is insane. But like there is a it's probably like the highest time in human history where like people in deep down in themselves hate Islam, but they'll never like show it. They're just gonna keep it in. So it's kind of scary to see like who's walking by, what do they think about you when they see you. You know, when I'm wearing these clothes in public, like what is someone thinking of me? Do they want to harm me? Do they hate me? It's crazy stuff to think about. But yeah, I think most people have the belief down. They believe in God. They believe in the Prophet, peace be upon him. They believe in the angels and the revelations of the Quran and everything. But where the problem comes is practicing. So our second pillar of Islam is prayer, right? So prayer is mandatory for everybody. And there's some exceptions which I won't go into. You can search that up yourself if you don't know. For women and for men, there are some exceptions, but 5 times a day, right? So before you pray, you have to clean your body. It's an act called wudu, where you clean your body with water to purify yourself, and then you pray. And if you break that purification state through defecation, urination, or passing gas, you have to redo that. You have to purify yourself again. So in my opinion, and again, I'm not a scholar, this is just like one person's opinion. If your parents didn't pray when you were a kid, there is like, I would say like a 75% chance that you don't as well. But if your parents did pray as a kid, there is like a 75% chance that you do pray. And that's like the most important thing. Our parents have, and again, people like to say it's like brainwashing and stuff, which I understand, but every single Muslim who practices, they have a point where there's like an inner revelation and an inner awakening that motivates them to actually practice. So just because we were like forced as kids to learn how to read Quran or how to pray, that's not like that's not everything, you know. That is a blessing, and I'm so grateful that I was forced into that. But there's only to like a certain extent to which your parents can influence your practicing. And when what people have right now, like what I notice in people, and this isn't a judgmental thing, this is just like between friendly conversations, I know what it's like to not be a practicing Muslim. But what I notice is that like a lot of the times when Muslims who don't pray often like pray, it's because their parents have told them and they're just doing it for the sake of their parents, which is not a genuine connection, right? So the whole idea is like how do you, like the way you start praying is you establish that genuine connection. So the question is how. So for me, I know you're not supposed to talk about your sins, right? I kind of do that on this channel just to help people see that it's not just them. But when I was so I guess when I was 17, I started praying 5 times. And it was during COVID, right? So COVID, I was 17, we were at home all the time, and that was a really big thing because we started fasting, right? And I was with my parents all day, and I saw them pray, and I was just like, it just got like, you know, you surround yourself with people who pray, and then you naturally start doing things. That's just how the world works. You know, the people you surround yourself with, you're influenced by them. So then I started to get like curious, like, why am I not doing this? And like, why are they doing it? Like, what's so good about that? So it was kind of that was my natural shift into it. It didn't, like, they weren't telling me to go pray. It was me being curious and taking that action from within. It was not an outside in decision. It was an inside out. Like I pushed that curiosity into action instead of the action being pushed into my Deen and then me doing it. It was completely genuine. Um, but then I was thinking like, okay, my goal is to pray 5 times, so I can't just like, oh, that sucked. Okay, my hands are dry. I can't just like flip a switch and pray 5 times a day. So what I did is, for I think it was like 2 weeks, I started praying I think 3 times a day, and then that was achievable for me. It was I can't remember which three, but it was just 3 of them. And after like a 3-week period of doing that, I was adjusted to it, and I knew what I needed to do to be in a state of valid prayer. And then I added on the other 2. So you can't just like suddenly snap your fingers and be there. You know, it's hard. It is not easy. But what I would say is, if you want to pray fajr, which is the morning prayer, you actually don't need to like okay. If anyone knows what istinja is, you can search that up. ISTINJA. I'm not going to explain it because it's weird, but basically I thought that was required for wudu my whole life, right? Until this year. So basically that made waking up for fajr really, really hard, because that meant that I had to get up and go to the washroom and basically ruin all my like sleep, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. That made work really bad. That made school really bad, because I'm suddenly interrupting my sleep so much. So what you can do to pray fajr but also get your sleep, this is a huge tip, by the way, is you literally get a little bowl. It can literally be like a cereal bowl, right? Get your water in there, put it in your room before you go to sleep, set your alarm for 30 minutes before sunrise. Now, when that alarm rings, or whenever the time works for you, you know, when the alarm rings, turn on a dim light and only do the 4 most necessary components of wudu, which is your face, your arms up to your elbows, your hair, and then your feet up to your ankles. So when you do those 4, now that is the bare minimum that you need to do to be pure, in a state of purity. And then you can pray and then go right back to sleep. You won't get that, like, I don't know if you guys have that, where it's like you go to sleep or you wake up, and then if you wipe your eyes, you get wide awake. But before wiping your eyes, you still have that like sleep in you. That is my tip, all right? Because fajr is the hardest prayer to pray, and waking up before sunrise, unlike in the summer, is horrible. It's so bad. But you're doing it because God has commanded you to do it. This is the second pillar, and like it's crazy to me how like even me in the past, this is something that's just so stupid. I had the 4th pillar down, which was fasting, but I didn't have the 2nd pillar. So like how do you have like the 2nd floor of your building done when you don't have the 1st floor like properly done, right? That doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be, when you're a Muslim, you need to go from like pillars 1 to 5. You have to have each one at the start like fulfilled or like secure before you can do the other ones. So if you're, especially right now, because we are fasting right now, like you need to be praying while you're fasting. There's just no debate about that. And maybe this video can help like make you curious, you know, because that's what you need. And everyone has their own time, their own like calling. It's written for them when they will either, I don't know if you've heard the quote. It's like God will lead. Whoever God leads, they cannot be led astray. But whoever is led astray, no one can lead. Whoever is led astray by God, no one can lead them back to the right path. So, like, you know, some of us, it's not written for us, but some of us it is. But there is, see, this brings in the debate of free will, free will, and like fate and free will. So you can change your fate based on free will. They are not exclusive, and one will not affect the other. Like, you're not just going to be sitting there doing nothing, putting no effort into it. Your Deen means like your how much you practice Islam. You're not just going to be sitting there and one day like the just switch turns on in your head and you're good. No, that's not how it works. Like, you need to have your free will. You need to be using some effort, some way, influencing yourself in some way to become closer to Islam. And it's not going to be forced. It can't be forced. If it's your parents doing it or it's someone other than you doing it, it's not going to work. It needs to be you. Because if it's someone else doing it and it's not you, I mean, if you're fasting, you can just go in a corner, take some food, eat some food, go to your like parents or whoever the other person is and just act like you're still fasting. But obviously that's not what you're supposed to do. So like, yeah, like this just needs to be, if you're struggling with practicing, I would first start off with surrounding yourself with other influences who are Muslim, who pray and can, and people who don't shame you for not practicing, because that is something that I experienced when I was a kid, is that when I would like say like, oh, I don't pray, it would be like I would be shamed for that. But the thing is that, dude, no one like if you shame somebody and you put them down for not doing something, that is not like an effective motivation. Like, having a more like empathetic conversation and in even saying something like, hey, if you ever want to learn about Islam, you can let me know. That is something that like will work way better than like, oh, you drink and you smoke, so you're a bad Muslim and you shouldn't be doing that because you're going to go to hell. That is such a negative language, and you can, and first of all, that is literally like shirk, because shirk means kind of associating another being with God, or like equating yourself to God, because we are not in a place to determine whether someone can go to hell. So that's a language that is often spoken by people. It's a very divisive type of language where you're basically saying like, oh, like she's gonna pay for that, or he's gonna pay for that in hell one day. But like, that's not your call. and you should not be saying that ever. It is not. Here's another thing, dude. This is something really big, is that it is not your business what someone else does with their Deen and their Islam. It is not any of your business, unless these are the exceptions to me. If it's your family, you have a moral obligation, and I'm pretty sure an Islamic obligation, to be guiding them, and respectfully be telling them, hey, I don't think that was right, and be empathetic. And number 2 is in the mosque. These are the 2 places and 2 situations where someone can talk to me and I will listen. But other than that, you have no right to tell me anything. This is another thing I wanted to say. I'm just, everything's coming out now. Is that, let's say you see, because we know we are not supposed to drink or smoke. That is my biggest flex in life, is I have never had any smoke except secondhand go into my lungs. No alcohol. The only drug I've ever done is stair climber. You should do stair climber. That is the best drug. Like, you don't need any weed, you don't need cocaine, you don't need alcohol if you can do stair climber. Because stair climber is literally, if you're ever stressed, you go on stair climber and all you're focused on is, I need to stop stepping up these steps. And your heartbeat goes crazy up, and it's just the best thing ever. So please do stair climber and don't do drugs. But anyways, okay, if you see someone doing any sin, right? The best thing you can do is just don't even go up to them. Don't even talk to them unless it's your family. Don't go up to them. But next time you pray, after you pray, make dua for them, and ask God to lead them to the right path. and to make them stop sinning. And if this person's close to you, or you have like a personal connection, just randomly, not in the time of when they're doing that sin, or in vicinity, just ever, if you ever can in a conversation, be like, if you ever want to like go to the mosque together, if you ever want to pray together, if you ever want to learn more about Islam, just let me know. Simple. That's literally all you need to do. And I think that is one of the kindest and purest things you can do to help out your Muslim brother or sister, or your literal brother or sister, or your parent. And if you see someone, if someone in your family is committing a sin, maybe it's backbiting, for example, just like respectfully call it out. And you don't have to be rude. You don't have to be like aggressive or anything, but just say like, that's not right, and don't say that. Right? Like that, we should just be doing this stuff, man. And one thing you always need to keep in mind is that just because, let's say you who are watching, you go to the mosque a lot, you're a very outwardly pious person, and I stay at home, I don't go to the mosque, I don't say inshallah or mashallah in my sentences. Like, just always remember, and this is something really important that we should always carry, is that like nothing makes you more religious than another person. You can never know what someone is doing in their life at all times. Even in their head, you don't know someone's strength and their strength of their belief in God, because someone could be a bigger sinner than you outwardly, but their faith in God might be stronger than yours. So what gives you the right to judge them based on that? And yeah, just because someone goes to the mosque, that doesn't make them a good Muslim. Just because someone a woman wears the headscarf and another woman doesn't, that doesn't make her better. You know, we need to remove these ideas, and you always need to live with that, saying like, okay, just because this person, like if you see someone at the mosque and you're like, okay, I've seen that person drink before, why do you even have to like associate that with their character? Because that is something in the past that they did, and they're here now, they're trying to be better. Like, I think having an open mind with your people, like with people around you, and being forgiving, and kind of just seeing them as like, okay, this person had some circumstance that led them to this sin, and I will never know about that circumstance, and God is the only one who probably has some really complicated system of judging, because he gets to judge people, not us. He has some complex system that will provide an explanation for why someone is this a certain way, why they didn't do XYZ, why they didn't pray in their entire life. Maybe they weren't exposed to the truth or the correct path this whole time. And maybe the time you're seeing that one sinner in the mosque is when they have been introduced to the truth or the correct path, or maybe that was the first time they've ever learned about Islam, is when they were just in the mosque. Maybe last week they finally learned, and they finally had that genuine connection and spark. So that's their start. That's their journey. Everyone has a different journey. And I've always felt, I didn't used to ever go to the mosque. This year I started to participate in like the iftars and stuff to help. But I didn't in the past because, you know, there was one mosque in my neighborhood they didn't speak English at all. Even the imams, even everyone there, they didn't speak English. I felt so isolated there. Another mosque that I used to go to, they didn't speak English either, and everyone was Arab, and I'm not Arab, even though I look Arab. So I also felt like isolated there. It wasn't until I started to like ask some of my like acquaintances and friends, like, you guys want to go to an iftar together, or you guys want to like do this, do that in while fasting in Ramadan, that I started to like get exposed to those like relatable, same-aged Muslim men, and then I started to feel welcome in the mosque, and that was really my thing. Like last year, I started to do more activities, and then this year I was like, screw it, let me just go like volunteer for fun, and it was like one of the best. Like this Ramadan has been, I have not been in a good like mental state lately. It's every day one day I'm feeling good, and the next day I'm feeling horrible. There's some things that are going on. I can't talk about it. I probably would talk about it, but it involves other people, so I cannot talk about that. But like going to the mosque, surrounding yourself with your brothers and your sisters, and just knowing that like you got each other's backs, you're laughing really hard at times, you're giving each other hugs. I mean, dude, this is like for me, it's been a great pain escape and a great way to cope with pain. Like drowning out the pain, but also like taking time when I'm alone to not let those like the pain that I'm talking about, like I need to talk about it with others, but also take advantage of it, because I've been blessed to have this bad situation happen right now, because in Ramadan it's allowed me to become so much more close with God, and every time my hands and face are on the ground, and I'm praying, it's just like it feels more and more like there's someone just there and listening. And dude, that is just oh my God. It's so beautiful, man. And I don't know. I feel like if you are who I was, and you aren't a very practicing Muslim, I don't know. I feel like if you've watched this video so far, you have some level of curiosity and interest. So just try things. You have to try and build connections and expose yourself to people who are practicing. And if you aren't educated, if you don't know like how to read Quran, if you don't know how to pray, there's stuff like there's sessions in the mosque where imams and people will meet up and read together, and there's literally, it's all for free. You just learn how to read, you learn the letters. There's also stuff like on Amazon, there's prayer mats where the prayer mat has a built-in speaker that says the prayer, what you have to say when you pray. So let's say you use that for 1 month. Now you know by the end of that month you pray 5 times a day for 30 days. That's what is that? Wait, what? That's 600 prayers, right? 30 times 5? Huh? Yeah? Okay. You've prayed 600 times with that mat. You will definitely know it. You can listen to like a song 3 times or like 10 times and know the lyrics. So you can use a prayer mat 600 times, and you'll know how to say everything in the prayer. And interpretation can come later. Understanding can come later. Reading the Quran, by the way, can come later. I'll leave a link in the description for a translation of the Quran that I got. And I got it this year, and it was so good because I've never been able to understand it. But they have English and they have Arabic parallel beside each other. So every single line has a direct English translation beside it. And it's so good because you can actually understand. It's trustworthy, it's accurate, and it's beautiful, because you will when you read that, you will see how how scary God is, which we should all be God-fearing, but not death-fearing. And you will also see the forgiveness of God. And that is such an important thing in this month, that especially in these last 10 days, that we are forgiving to our families and our friends and everybody. And if anyone's wronged us and they ask for forgiveness, grant them that right away. No ego. And this is a time where we have to be closer with each other and nicer than we normally are, because we have problems, man. We have a lot of problems of judging each other and not practicing, and having weak belief in God, weak faith in God. And when times are hard, you need to realize that like this will make sense soon because God wrote it this way. But yeah, that was basically everything. So thanks for listening. If you're not religious, or if you're not Muslim and you listen to the very end, you're insane. Like that, mashallah. That's what we say in Islam when something good happens and you know what, you want to praise it. Thank you. That is really insane. And for all the Muslims who are watching, whether you're practicing and you watch this video to reinforce your beliefs, or you're not practicing and you watch this just to gain some knowledge, or you're curious, that's amazing. And I hope this helped in some way. And you'll be able to be better, because we need to be doing those 5 pillars at minimum. The bare minimum is hard. It's very hard, but it is literally so valuable, and we're on the verge of infinity here in this life. So we need to take it very seriously and we need to be better always. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.